Hello, everybody. It's another episode of the Four Guys Roundtable Show with AG Nitro, Darth Pat. That was a great nod, Darth Pat. And finally, Coach Jeremy and moi, Theo. And tonight's topic for later on in the podcast, just so everybody knows, we are going to be talking about sports movies. Yes, sports movies. But until then, hello, everybody. How's everybody doing this evening?
Doing wonderful. It's a Saturday. I love Saturdays. So, you know. And I must say, that was that like your suspenseful opening to the show? Like, it's a suspense movie, and it's on our topic of today.
Suspense sports movies can be a topic. We can go there. Yes.
Okay.
I was just doing a little monotone today. That's all.
Little monotone.
Sweet, you sound like me.
All right, then. Let me change the voice. All right, let's go.
Yeah, you don't want to be the monotone robot like me.
Oh, nothing like monotone man coming through. Hello, how can I help you today? Yes,
well, yeah.
That would be great.
The woman I worked with today at the store, she's like the female version of me. She's monotone and her facial expression never changes.
Nice.
So that's always fun coming into that.
Your customers must love it. They're like, God, Mr. and Mrs. Personality here to help us out. Wonderful.
Well, the other thing that's very ironic about it is she's like a week older than me. Like she was born like same year as me, and her birthday's like a week before mine. So she's like the person I know that's like closest to my age.
It must be that month. Wow. If you're born in the month of November, you know, you turn.
It's a Scorpio thing.
It's a Scorpio, too cool Scorpio. So yeah, must be that November thing. I don't know. My wife's not monotone, but she was born at the end of November, almost December. So maybe she got lucked out. She got to December.
She's not a Scorpio, so she's
yeah. I don't know
whatever's after that.
Totally different.
What is she? Cancer?
Sagittarius? I don't know. I don't know what comes after Scorpio. So.
Darth Pat.
Darth Pat. Answer.
Darth Pat. You have a very monotone-looking facial expression right now for this whole conversation.
Are you asking me about being monotone, or are you asking me about zodiac signs? Because if you're asking me about zodiac signs, I don't give a rat's ass. I mean, for what it's worth, since we're talking about November, my older sister was born in November. I would not call her monotone, but I would call her other things that I will not say on this podcast because I'll get in trouble.
Is this younger or older sister?
I just said older sister. God damn,
I mean,
open your
you
ears.
can say them. You can say them. I'm ready to laugh.
No,
we don't want Darth Pat being mauled by an older sister.
Oh, it's not that I'm mauled by her.
That would be hilarious.
She'll just throw a fit, and then I'll be like thrown into like a guilt trip for like 2 weeks until I apologize to her. I don't feel like doing that.
That would be funny to watch her try to make you squirm, Pat.
No,
So
she wouldn't be making me squirm.
So Darth
it would be
Pat,
just an internal guilt thing.
So your sister listens to it?
I doubt it, but she would just throw in her typical temper tantrums, or she'd just start going on this thing about how nobody loves her and all this other shit. So I mean,
the only way she would know about it is if somebody told her.
Oh, she'll find a way to find out.
We'll blow up her Facebook and tell her to watch the podcast. And be like, your younger brother had some wonderful things to say about you. Why don't you go check it out?
Yeah.
I could probably say things about my brother Scott and his wonderful wife, and probably they'd never know because we curse and stuff on here, and they would never ever listen to something like that. So I could get away with anything. But I won't because I'm better than that.
What a bunch of horseshit that is. Tell them to get their panties out of a bunch and watch this fucking show, will you?
Right.
I know my nephew's watched it a couple times. He actually has enjoyed it. He thinks it's pretty funny, some of the dumbass stuff that we say.
Says the guy that didn't even watch it till like a couple weeks ago himself.
Well, I'm glad
there was a reason for that, and
yeah. He finally is like, I can look
I'm
at
not
myself.
holding my breath on that one.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what that reason was. Oh wait, I think it was probably bored at work.
Bored at work.
Wow. That's what made you watch it. Bored at work.
Well, it wasn't even so much watching it as listening to it. I mean, I can put headphones on at my job and put like podcasts and stuff on. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We all got our thing, and when I have a chance, I like to listen to us too, just to kind of hear, because when we're talking about this stuff, I don't always catch everything everybody's saying.
I don't
it's nice
either.
to go back and listen to it and be like, oh shit, I didn't realize he said that, and then have a good laugh about it.
I mean, just August is a little bit of a slower time at my job. I mean, it'll pick up again in the next couple of days because we have our first extension deadline in September, and then again in October, and then probably be pretty slow again until January. So that's just the way my job is.
Yep, and then blast off in January because of tax season. Woohoo!
Yeah, January January at my job is really more like the administrative people are actually more busy at my job in January than I am, because people don't get their tax stuff to get to you. Yeah, in January. They're getting that stuff throughout January. Now, these audits that we do, those usually we have to start getting going with, but we're also dependent upon the people who are auditing giving us the stuff that we need to audit, and they aren't always great about getting that stuff in January too, which is not good since most of those audits are due at the end of February. And when you're doing like 20 of them simultaneously, it can get a little harried. So that's what kind of sucks about that, but
And AJ, if you snap your fingers at me one more time, I'm going to drive to Ohio and beat your ass.
Right there. I was snapping my fingers at you.
That's right. I saw it. Don't deny it.
Well,
pretty sure I was doing that to my dog. So
I am not a dog, damn it.
AJ, I mean, you have a clear choice for what to do now, and I think we both know what that is. Thank you.
I knew, Jeremy, you heard me do that, and I was trying to get Vader's attention.
And now I'm choking on my beer. As I tried to drink and breathe at the same time.
So all three of you are drinking again, except for me?
Well, it's a Saturday night, and I'm feeling all right, so it's a kind of a beer night.
Yeah,
Saturday night's all right for fighting,
Ooh, Saturday night fight nights. I remember those. I saw probably when, let's do story time. So when my wife's real good friend from high school, one of her friends. Oh, that's just messed up.
Pat has gotten ahead of the curve by sleeping in his chair. He's getting comfy.
But her husband is a really big boxing fan, real big boxing fan. And I've always enjoyed boxing, but I hadn't watched boxing since Tyson was fighting. His last fight against where he lost to somebody help me out.
I don't remember his name.
Buster Douglas. Was it Buster Douglas? No, it wasn't. I can't remember his name.
That wasn't the last time he lost.
No, well, I mean his first loss when he was fighting over in England.
Oh, yeah. that was Buster Douglas.
Yeah, Buster Douglas. So yeah, I had the right person, but his first loss, that was probably the last time I had watched Tyson fight, and I hadn't watched any boxing since then. So I was very out of touch with boxing. But
that's 30 years ago. So
yeah, well, and this was probably about 12 years ago that I actually saw this fight. So, it was about 20 years since I had watched any boxing at all. But I knew who Manny Pacquiao was, and I didn't know who the guy that he was fighting because it was some Irish guy, but who ran his mouth like no man's business. He was just like, I'm going to kick Pacquiao's ass. There's no way, I'm going to take him down. I'm like, okay, I know who Pacquiao is. I know his repertoire. I'm like, I don't know. So we go over for fight night, And, we're watching all the undercard fights go, and those are going good. They're very interesting fights. They're actually long fights because the fighters are, testing each other out, and they're, working their way up the ranks to be the, the contenders for the the different belts and stuff like that. Because there's 42 different weight classes in boxing anymore. Welterweight, super welterweight, featherweight, super welter, all these different freaking ridiculous titles.
Bantamweight, yep.
Phantom weights. It's oh my God. Let's give a guy to something to...
Ghost weight, phantom weight, ghost weight.
I have no weight.
Matt weight.
Well, I don't think we're topping that one, folks. Good night.
Oh my God. Anyway.
Good one.
So...
Were you waiting for me to say that, Darth Pat?
No, I was not. You completely that.
So, needless to say, finally get to the Pacquiao fight, and doesn't he get up, her husband get up to get a beer or get some nachos or some shit. He gets up and he leaves, and the bell rings, and
the fight's over in
45 seconds. The fight's over because he just cleans this dude's clock. I was like, oh man, this dude was toast. But yeah, he just beat his ass like he stole something. It was really funny. It was really funny to watch. And I love Pacquiao. When I got a chance to see his fights and go over for fight night at his house, this guy's house, we would go every time because it was always a good time. Besides getting to watch the fights and have a good, and enjoy that, it was always a good time at his house. So I was kind of bummed when they moved back to Florida, from Jersey, moved back to Florida and stuff like that. But, it is what it is. I did get to see Pacquiao fight Floyd Mayweather, and
that's Joe's buddy.
I must say that was probably one of the, I've watched a couple Mayweather fights, and his fights suck. His fights are fucking boring as far as fights go for boxing. If I'm watching boxing, I want to see guys pummel each other. I know that sounds kind of brutish and and Neanderthalic, but that's the whole point of boxing. Yes, boxing is an art, boxing's a form, but you're also supposed to fucking punch each other. For the love of God, punch each other. And to watch Mayweather run away from people essentially and play the guard position the whole fucking fight and win on points. Come on, man.
He's defense and counter. That's all he does.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it leads to the most boring fight. I hate watching people just run after him, running. I guess a better thing for those people to do would have been to stand in the fucking corner, wait for him to come to him, because if you did that, maybe he'd actually do something. He'd have to throw out some offense instead of just walking away and countering all the time. Mm-hmm. And that fight between him and Pacquiao, there's too much controversy around it to know if Pacquiao really would have won that fight, because evidently Pacquiao was suffering from an injured shoulder, and he wanted to postpone the fight 2 weeks, but Mayweather's camp wouldn't postpone the fight 2 weeks because they were afraid he was going to use performance-enhancing drugs,
that was a whole storyline for that was some bullshit.
He had tested how many times for performance-enhancing drugs throughout previously when they were going to fight. 2 years before that they were supposed to fight, but they wouldn't do it. And then the whole time he was getting tested, he must have got, I think it was something stupid that he got tested the amount of times for performance-enhancing drugs before the fight happened, and then, oh no, we can't delay it any longer. You got to fight. So you're fighting a guy that's arm is not 100%, and you're sitting back there, and I don't know if
it's all about the money.
Yeah, it was all about the money, and it's even if they postponed that fight 2 weeks, you were still going to make the same amount of money. That wasn't going to go anywhere. No. People were still going to come to the fight. You weren't going to lose any money, but Mayweather is who he is, and people will probably say he's one of the greatest boxers to ever live because of his record at 50-0 or something like that.
He's undefeated. He's not my top 5, but that's all right. That's another topic for another story.
If you're going to be one of the greatest fighters in the world, you actually have to fucking fight, in my opinion, not play defense all damn day. And people will say, well, you should have saw his earlier career. Yeah, well, his earlier career was freaking boxing and Golden Glove boxing and doing what was the Olympic boxing in the beginning too? He did some Olympic boxing, I think.
So, yeah.
But it's like
he would have lost to De La Hoya, but De La Hoya got in his head and tried to knock him out. He was actually beating him on points, and his corner was like, "Keep doing what you're doing," but he wanted to make a statement and try to knock out Mayweather, and he ended up losing.
Yeah. See, and
I rooted for Mayweather once, and he won.
Well,
That doesn't count.
Fighting the Big Show does not count.
For me, it does.
Because if the Big Show, I mean, we know you do not like the Big Show, and that's all good. But we know if that would have been a real fight, Big Show would have grabbed a hold of him and punched him in the head and like probably fucking killed him.
Well, I still remember, of course, in the one night of Raw leading up to that, where they were like, yeah, well, remember it was like it literally got like that close to like Mayweather's hangers on and like the Raw roster coming to blows, like legitimately on live TV. And the funny thing was that like Shane McMahon was out there for that segment too, and it's like, can you imagine if that had happened where Shane's out there and he would have been literally caught in the middle of it as these guys started like legitimately throwing shit at each other. I wanted to see it happen because I wanted to see the Raw roster beat the shit out of Mayweather's lackeys, because I think that would have been supremely entertaining. I've never really liked Mayweather. His attitude has just never really done it for me. So, I knew he was winning that match against the Big Show, but when he fought Pacquiao, I was always rooting for Pacquiao. So I just wanted to see Mayweather get his comeuppance, and because you're talking about how he didn't want to like give Pacquiao the 2 weeks of the shoulder. That's because he also knew that would increase his chances of losing, and Mayweather's whole brand is built upon the fact that he has never lost. So
yep, and it's sad because he is someone that I believe kids could look up to, as we look at where he came from, look at what he built. But when you look at what he's done, not in career wise, but personal wise, with tax evasion and shit like that, and the kind of person that he is, like his character is fucking shitty. Like, he's just not someone that I believe, in my personal opinion, I don't believe kids should look up to him as like a role model kind of person. Like, he's just, here's a guy that carries around a fucking bag of cash, but yet can't pay his fucking taxes. Like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, you evidently had the money to pay your taxes because you're carrying around a big bag of cash. Like,
he's got to pay a shitload of taxes. He doesn't want to lose that money.
Like, so it's just, and there's other things too. It's just not the money thing. There's other things that have come out that just, character wise, he's just not, like I said, in my opinion, someone that kids should look up to, and other people may have a different opinion, and that's all right. But that's my opinion on him. And, it is what it is. Like I said, fight nights were fun though, when I got to go see some fight night and enjoy fight night.
Fight nights can be fun. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know anybody in boxing anymore. Like, I couldn't tell you a single person that's any good in boxing anymore.
Well, yeah, there really hasn't been much of a heavyweight division for a long time. It's been all about the Klitschko's, which is like, okay, fine, but yeah, it's not like when I was first becoming aware of sports and he had so many great heavyweights and everything. I just don't go for the lower weight classes as much. I've never been the biggest boxing fan in the world anyway. Like, I had a former coworker, this would have been in the mid 2000s, who was really into MMA. It wasn't not so much. He went more for one of UFC's competitors at the time. I don't remember which one it was. I don't really care. But he always asked. I think it was. Yeah, now that you say that. But he always asked me why I don't watch MMA when I watch wrestling, and I said, I don't watch wrestling for guys beating the shit out of each other. I mean, if I wanted to watch that, I would watch MMA and boxing, but that's not the reason I want to watch, so I don't. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Funny that you mention MMA, Darth Pat, because here's another fun story. First time I ever got to see MMA, I went with a friend of mine from a very old job, and I saw one of AJ's favorite wrestlers fight. So this is when good old Brock Lesnar was still in MMA.
That's the only time I watched. I only watched UFC when Brock was there.
So it was, this is a long time ago, and this is like early in his career. And I went to this bar to watch it because you could go to the bar at that time for free to watch them as long as you were getting food and stuff like that. So we sit down, we're watching the undercard fights because, Frank Muir and Brock Lesnar were the main event. And it was number 2. It was Frank Muir, Lesnar 2. So this is the one that Lesnar didn't lose by getting his foot trapped and getting like a foothold or some shit on it. But everybody's like, fuck Brock Lesnar, that fucking dude. Go back to fucking wrestling. Like, they're all fucking hating on Brock Lesnar. I'm like, the only one there is like, come on, Brock, fucking take him out his ass. Like, I want to see him just because I know Brock Lesnar is a fucking beast. Like, that dude, before he had the diverticulitis, and that hindered his career, he was a fucking monster. Like, it wasn't just a fake thing. Like, go back and watch his fucking college wrestling. That dude's a beast.
He was the baddest man on the planet before he got that disease, and then that changed everything.
Like, and that literally fit his, like, who he was. Like, not to say he wouldn't have lost fights even without that, but his career would have been much, much different. But it was so funny.
Promo after that fight.
Yeah, he cut his best promo ever in his whole life after he won the UFC belt.
But it was awesome because, Frank Muir and Brock Lesnar too, they go at it and Brock just gets him eventually, within, I think it was the second round, somewhere in there. And boom, Brock Lesnar just whooped his ass. I was like, yes. I was like, this is perfect. And everybody else is like, boo, fuck yeah. I'm like, Joe's kind of like the exception because he likes both. A lot of people like one or the other. So if you get in an MMA crowd, they didn't like Brock because he was a wrestling guy. So I dealt with that too, Jeremy. They were like, fuck this guy. Go back to wrestling. You suck. Yeah. I don't know. It was some guys can do it and some guys can't. I never saw Bobby Lashley fight in, what was he, Bellator? I think it was Bellator that he was in, or the other promotion, but I never saw him fight, so I don't know if he was any good at MMA or not, but
he was.
He was good. And there for a little while, he was doing both wrestling and MMA. When he was on TNA, I think it was, he was doing both. So
maybe he should have stuck with MMA.
Yeah, something that he didn't have to talk with. Yeah, that probably would have been better for his career, but longevity, he would have had a lot less longevity with MMA, probably. Yeah. But anyways, good stuff.
So the one wrestling thing we could talk about real quick is Roman officially turning heel last night.
Oh, he turned heel. So
he's with Heyman, Jeremy.
Oh wow! So as of the time of this recording this podcast, which when everybody else gets to watch, it'll be about a week old then. But so he turned heel on what, SmackDown on Friday?
Yes, at the end of the show, they did this little thing where they were trying to hunt him down to sign the contract. So the guy. The camera was panned where you could just see Roman and Adam Pearce. And Roman's like, I'm not signing the contract. But he's like, I'll be at Payback, and I'm going to win the Universal title. And he's like, this isn't a prediction. This is a spoiler. And then it panned to Heyman, and Heyman's like, what?
Right when he said that, I was like, where the fuck's Heyman at?
And then Heyman,
he said spoiler. Yeah. I'm like,
and then
where's Heyman?
It panned to Heyman, and Heyman's like, believe that. It was really good stuff. It was like really good stuff.
Yeah, so like Roman said Heyman's line, and then Heyman said Roman's line. So yeah,
really good stuff. And everybody, like all the Roman haters, they don't hate him anymore because he's going to be a heel. So now all the Roman people that were booing him they're not going to boo him anymore.
Well, and you know what? And we talked about this before. That is probably the one thing that would have made John Cena's career a little bit different. Like, instead of having to say he's the most polarizing wrestler of all time, they could have just turned him freaking heel if you would have just allowed them to do it.
They pulled the trigger. They pulled the trigger on this one. So good for them.
Roman was smart for that. Roman was smart for saying, yeah, it's okay, let's turn me heel. He was smart because it's going to help his career. Because he doesn't have to talk as much. He can make mistakes in the ring, and because as a heel you can do that. You can get what I've heard a lot of wrestlers refer to as getting egg on your face. You can do that. As a face, you can't be fucking up, and like you can't do that.
He can do what's on his shirt. He can wreck everyone and leave.
Yeah, when I saw that shirt, I was like, wow, that's a very Brock Lesnar-esque type of slogan going on there.
It does get interesting if Brock does come back, because do you like put the two of them, like, do you let them be in a little group with Heyman for a while? Because good luck beating those two.
I mean,
I saw this thing about where they were like had like an idea for like an Edge Orton WrestleMania main event. I'm almost guaranteed. I'll go out on a limb. Say next year's WrestleMania event is heel Roman, face Brock. That's what I'm gonna go with.
I can't see Brock as a face. I don't think it's gonna work for him.
It didn't really work. It didn't really work when they tried it the first time.
No. I know, but in this case, I just have a feeling that's what they're gonna try.
I would prefer that they let Heyman do this and have like the old school Heenan family. Let's have the Heyman family type of concept with him.
Put the Usos in there.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. That would be sweet to put the Usos in there. I was thinking about that last night. I mean, he had Brock and CM Punk, and we all know CM Punk didn't need a face, but a mouth for him, to talk. But I mean, that worked. They ended up wrestling each other once, I think. I don't remember what the storyline was for that. But anyway, I mean, I would let them do like a little Heyman family type of, stable per se. That would be sweet.
Yeah, they need to do something different. They need to mix it up. Maybe it's time to go back to a little bit of old school mentality with wrestling, just to give it a new flavor, essentially a new old flavor. It can't hurt. What's the worst that it can do? You try it out for a couple months and you're like, oh, it's not working. Okay, let's switch it up a little bit again. It's not going to hurt your ratings that much. It only can, like I said, it can't damage it that much. It can. I would think it would improve it, because I think it would make more people interested in the product again.
I think the only thing is, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Joe.
Just reading that. I think one of the Usos is still, he's not going to be ready for like any type of contact until like the end of the year, which kind of sucks. Which I didn't know that, because he actually, his ACL, he tore it completely off at WrestleMania. Ooh. So that's where I think unless he comes back sooner, I think it's like December or January is his timetable to return. So if they do that, it's going to have to wait. But
this is the most people, just from one day to now, this is the most I've seen people talk about SmackDown in months. Like, just because of the ending. Like, they got people paying attention. Like, people are paying attention now. Because everybody after Roman came back last week was like, oh, Roman's back. He's going to win the belt this weekend. But this is a different Roman now that's going to win the belt this weekend. So now, like there's definitely interest in Roman again. Not just the women and the kids crowd. There's actually interest from the other side of it now in Roman. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Which needs to happen.
I think it is time to start this crazy ass thing that we call a podcast. Would you guys agree?
Yeah,
sure. Let's roll with it.
So let's get into our podcast, and we'll go with our first unofficial sponsor, and that would be just beer. Or alcoholic beverages in general, because 3 out of the 4 of us are having an alcoholic beverage. So, hey, alcoholic beverages are the unofficial sponsor. Doesn't matter what you're drinking. If you're drinking, you're part of the unofficial sponsor of the Four Guys Roundtable Show podcast.
What is our unofficial sponsor going to be? WAP?
Probably never.
Nope.
Because that just, it sounds appetizing, but it's also kind of gross.
I don't want any guys with buckets and mops coming on this.
No, absolutely not.
Look at Dark Pat. That was worth bringing up just to watch Dark Pat. That's the only reason I did it.
He is completely ignoring your bit ass blah, 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 blah. So, before we do get started, though, of course, we got to give a big shout out to all our fans and everybody that's listening, watching, no matter where you're catching it. We do 100% appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're watching on, of course, YouTube, make sure you guys give us a like, set up those notifications, subscribe to the channel so you never, ever miss an episode. Leave us a comment, because we'd love to know what you guys think. We'll definitely get back to you if you do leave a comment. If you're catching us on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify, we appreciate you being there too. And on iTunes, you can always leave us a rating, help us climb up the charts so more people like yourself can actually catch this podcast and get the entertainment that we try to bring to you each and every week. You can also catch us on Twitter at 4 Guys with a Z Roundtable. And as always, at the very end of the show, we will have our Mount Rushmore, which is going to be based, of course, on our theme, as always, which our theme today is sports movies, which is going to be fun because this is going to be very different. We haven't done a sports movies or movies in general podcast. And we got 3 things that we want to talk about. The first being, what is your favorite type of sports movie theme? So is it baseball, football, basketball, hockey? What is your favorite theme? And I'm going to kick it over to Darth Pat to start us off with your favorite theme, sir.
Why do you always start with me? My God.
I don't always start with you.
To get the 15-minute diatribe out of the way first.
If you're going to cry about it, I'll go to somebody else because we're not going to have whiny little bitches on this show, all right? If you're going to be a whiny bitch, you can just be quiet, okay?
Uh-oh.
I'm going to cancel you.
You can't cancel me. I'm not on the TV. Dun, 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 dun.
That's what you think.
You can just try and use your force powers on me through here, so you know.
Oh no.
Control some Nielsen ratings, I guess.
Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, I don't know if I have a favorite type. I mean, my kind of reflexive thought is to say baseball.
Yes.
Because baseball is my favorite sport. Mm-hmm. So, that kind of is reflexive. But, baseball movies are very hit or miss, too. Like, for every good baseball movie, there's a bad one. I mean, in a lot of ways, the sport that's always kind of lent itself, I think, best to the overall, I don't really know what the word I'm looking for is, but just like to the concept of movies in general, generally is boxing. Because, in a lot of movies, of course, you need to have a protagonist and an antagonist and everything. And boxing, since it's such a, one-on-one sport, which is combat-oriented, it just is kind of the easiest way to have that kind of a relationship in a movie. So, I mean, that's why there's been so many really good boxing movies. So I would say those could be too, but I don't know. I think probably if you were to say like, okay, they're gonna make a new sports movie, I'm like, oh, okay, what sport? And you would say to me, like what one would be the one that would give me the most like, I guess positive possibility of me saying, oh, I'm going to go see that. Then it would be baseball. So I'd still probably have to say baseball.
It's going to give you that funny feeling.
No, that's not what I said. Give me just like it's just going to pique my interest. And the funny thing is about that is that there have been some baseball movies recently that I haven't bothered with. Like there was that one with John Hamm where he was discovering the pitchers in India. That just didn't really appeal to me when I saw the previews for that. There's been a couple other ones which I think were set in like Latin America, which for whatever reason when I saw the trailers, like they just didn't look incredibly interesting to me. So far I've stayed away from them, but I would still say baseball first and foremost.
Yeah. Hey, I've enjoyed quite a few baseball sports films, so I'm right there with you on baseball's always been a pretty decent one. 42 was an excellent baseball movie.
Yes,
at least I thought so.
That's the last one, and that's like 6 or 7 years old now. But that's like the last one that I remember seeing the preview for and saying, oh yeah, definitely going to see that. And it was because of the subject matter. It was because Harrison Ford's in it. Harrison Ford's, one of, if not my all-time favorite actor. But obviously it had a lot to do with the subject matter and seeing that dramatized. And obviously I just want to quickly say how upsetting it is that Chadwick Boseman just passed away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very upsetting news when as we're recording this, that news came in last night because he was really great in that movie. He didn't sound a thing like Jackie Robinson because Jackie Robinson had a much higher pitched voice, but the like the physicality and like the mannerisms and just the way that he had to keep it all bottled up and everything that first season, was I think he really hit all the right notes on that. So
the only thing that I disliked about that movie was the fact that the Phillies manager was a hooting and hollering freaking redneck racist.
Well, yeah, that was like, Ben Chapman.
Awesome.
That was Ben Chapman. He was played by Alan Tudyk, who was in the Firefly and Serenity stuff, and he was the voice of the droid in Rogue One, and he's been in countless other stuff. It's like probably another movie we'll probably mention here shortly. But yeah, Ben Chapman, he had been an all-star outfielder with the Yankees and some other teams. He really was that way. He was that much of a just a totally virulent racist, because I believe he was also from the Deep South. I think he was from Alabama. Yeah. So that was pretty much completely and totally accurate. And just kind of a real quick interesting story. I read something about that Alan Tudyk had gotten so into the role and the character and having to say all that, just viable, horrible, stuff, that he like went out to dinner one night, like while the movie was being filmed, and everything that he had to do like that day on the set just like weighed him down so much so that like when his meal came, he just like sat there and he couldn't eat it, and he just paid the check and left. He was just it had like affected him so much to have to do that he just was not even in the mood to go eat dinner. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and it's like, well, that's the kind of reaction you'd almost like to see somebody have when they have to say that kind of shit. So I always found that was like an interesting story. But yeah, the Phillies weren't the only team, of course, that were opposed to Jackie Robinson being there and everything. Like the general manager for the Phillies, who Harrison Ford's Branch Rickey is on the phone with, they never say his full name. I think he says his first name, which is Herb. That was actually Herb. That was supposed to be Herb Pennock, who was an all-star and Hall of Fame pitcher, mostly with the Yankees back in the 20s. He was the general manager of the Phillies at the time when Jackie Robinson broke free. So, again, like I said, there's a Hall of Famer who wasn't really happy that Jackie Robinson was coming in. Ben Chapman, like I said, had been an all-star. So it was all over. It was just, it's hard to think of it now, like, 70 years later, but fortunately that's the way it was.
Yeah. It's crazy. AJ, what's your favorite type of sports movie? What's your favorite theme?
I'd like to say basketball, because I like basketball the best, but I think most of the best sports movies I've seen are football ones. So I think most of the ones on my list are football movies. So I definitely kind of gear towards that for some reason. I really like the football movies. I don't think there's been a ton of great basketball movies. I think there's been a handful.
Yeah, so, I agree with that, yeah.
So I kind of I also like, for some reason, I like hockey, the hockey movies too, even though I'm not a big hockey person. Because of the Mighty Ducks and Miracle, I really like those hockey movies in particular. So,
hence the jersey.
Yes. Well, I like Joshua Jackson too. So, as an actor too. So
that's because AJ is a quacker.
I am. Dude, I'm not gonna quack though.
Come on, quack for us, boy.
Quack. I've watched the Mighty Ducks movies so many times. So I saw all of them. I saw all three of them in the theater when they came out.
Mighty Ducks, I think one of my favorites, is Mighty Ducks 2, when they introduced Keenan's character, which I can't think of his name.
The Knuckle Puck. You like the Knuckle Puck.
Are you ready for the Knuckle Puck? I know that wasn't his voice in the movie, but,
Hey, it was worth a shot,
Yeah.
Reenact.
But, Mighty Ducks, I love those movies when they came out, and I still can enjoy them, too, at this point in time.
And I've seen Miracle a ton of times, and, like, a couple of my friends are like, have never seen it. And I'm like, why haven't you seen Miracle? Because I know what happens at the end. Really?
No shit.
Just because of that?
Right. That's exactly why. Because I know what happens at the end.
Don't want to go through the emotional roller coaster to see how they got there.
Right.
Did they go see superhero movies? I'm just gonna say, because you know what's gonna happen at the end of a superhero movie. The hero's going to win.
Any sports movie that's based on something that happened, you probably know what's going to happen at the end.
Sure. Yeah. There's only one, and I think we'll talk about it. Somebody might bring it up, but there's one that I can't remember the title of it, but there was one where it didn't end the way I thought it was going to, and it was based on a true story, so I didn't know the actual true story and how that turned out. But one of you guys will probably know what that is eventually.
What do you remember? Like,
it was a football movie. It was a football movie. I can't remember the name of it. I can kind of picture it in my head, but I can't think of it.
What are you picturing in your head?
God, I don't even know how to describe it. It'll come
Little
to me eventually.
Giants.
No, it was not Little Giants. Hell no.
The Icebox.
I enjoyed
Little
that movie.
Giants.
It wasn't that movie. Oh, I did enjoy that movie. It was not that one.
Good.
So, what's your favorite theme? What sports type movies do you like most?
Oh, we're coming to me now. Oh, I couldn't hear over Matt's laugh. AJ's laugh was all over the place. I'm into fighting movies more, to be honest.
So the boxers.
Yeah, anything, any type of, movie that has to do with fighting, boxing, MMA, wrestling, whatever, that type of group clustered together in regards to that.
So you're a big fan of No Holds Barred.
Oh, God. Who doesn't like Zeus? Let's be honest.
I love
Come
the
on
fact
now.
that when he's looking at you, he's not looking at you. It's awesome.
Jeez.
I know that's pretty horrible, but it's still funny.
Joe, did you like?
You're a very horrible person, and you're going to hell.
Yep, I know.
Did you like Warrior, Joe? Because I liked that movie a lot.
Yes, where it was good.
I didn't see that.
That one was really good.
Warrior was pretty good. Yep.
Yes.
Then
I have that one written down because I really liked that movie. I actually went and saw that in the theater. So
I would say, like, if I had to pick a second one out of that, I would probably basketball would be my second one.
Okay. So you like to see stories about people beating each other up, and then some basketball.
Joe liked
Hurts each other.
Joe liked Uncle Drew.
Uncle Drew was funny.
I mean, it was.
I will not watch that pile of fucking garbage.
And
I will
Joe's
not watch shit.
Joe's favorite basketball movie of all time is More Than the Game. So
I don't know that one. I know the title, but I don't know that movie.
I'm messing with Joe.
Space Jam, baby. Space Jam.
Hey, that's a good flick.
I
don't
know
care
that
if
is. I'm just messing with Joe with More Than the Game. I'm surprised he didn't say anything uncomplimentary about that movie.
Nope. Not going there.
My favorite is definitely, I'm a football person. Like, I love the football themed movies. Those have always been my favorite. My second favorite, if I'd have to say, I'm actually kind of I like the boxing and fighting movies too. I do. I like those. Those are always really good because it's usually something inspiring about that boxer or fighter or, whatever it is. But yeah, I definitely gravitate towards football movies overall. And not to sound like a homer, but Invincible was a really, really good movie. Really well done.
Did I go see that with you?
I think you did.
I feel like I went and saw that with you.
Yeah, I know, but that
movie was good. That movie was good.
Oh no, that's not even like my number one football film, but that ranks pretty high just because it was just well done, regardless of who it's about. Like, it could have been about the New York Giants or freaking Dallas Cowboys or some shit like that. That movie was so well done that it's hard not to like it, regardless of who the team is that the guy plays for.
What's the big underdog? It's that's a huge underdog story. So
yeah.
Well, and the fact that he only played for 3 years, 3 seasons, I should say, with the Philadelphia Eagles, but everybody knows, if you're an Eagles fan, everybody knows who Vince Papale is and what he did, and that he was from Philly, and tried out for the team at like 30 some years old when which I can't remember who's the coach. Damn it. Because this was before my time. What's that? Dick Vermeil. Thank you. Yeah, it was before my time. So Dick Vermeil had open tryouts, and who the hell has open tryouts for football, for the NFL? Like, come on. Like, who are you going to get? And this guy fucking makes it. Like, come on. Like, that's just crazy. So we got our favorite themes. Do we want to move? Let's go. I know it's kind of early, but I think we should do our Stumper Question. I think we should move right into our Stumper Question.
We haven't even talked about the stuff it correlates to even.
All right, fine. We'll wait on the Stumper question for all our fans.
Well, I mean, I could bring it up. I could bring up the movie, and then we will have talked about it. So, but
well, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Bring up the movie because I'd like to move into our Stumper question.
So, Friday Night Lights.
Fantastic movie.
Is it? I liked the movie, but I liked the TV show substantially better. And me and Theo are the only ones on here who actually watched the TV show. So. The TV show was really cool because other than one kind of hokey storyline that they had during one of the seasons, all of the rest of it was like stuff that probably really happens down in Texas for football. Like they had one of the seasons they had a mailbox that nobody lived there, but somebody was using the mailbox just so they could play on the team. That kind of shit probably happens down there still.
Probably yes.
It happens in Pennsylvania. Kids don't.
That show was. I think that show was really good because I bought in. I don't know about Theo, but all the characters on that show were likable and they all had their own storylines, and it was easy to buy into the TV show. So
I did see a couple episodes of it. I can't say I didn't see none of it. I did see a couple episodes, but that was really it.
No, I think they stayed very true. For the most part, they stayed very true to football life in down south Texas and all that stuff. Because I've watched other shows, like reality shows with little kids. Well, the little kids, probably say midget football. 10 to 13-year-olds where, they're extremely hardcore with those kids. And this is them going around different football, popular football leagues in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. They're very competitive and people like to cheat and all kinds of other stuff. So, if they're doing that at that type of level, absolutely, you're going to see the drama and all the craziness happen at the high school level. And
I mean, they definitely like in the movie, the running back, Booby gets hurt really early in the movie. And in the TV show, the quarterback gets hurt instead of the running back. So they it's kind of fits with the theme. And then the movie, there's a kid that's a drunk and his dad's a drunk, just like Riggins on the TV show. So they correlated they had people that were similar to the people in the movie on the TV show, but obviously the TV show was 5 seasons. So they.
Do you know who played the drunk dad in the movie though?
Tim McGraw.
Yeah. I didn't realize that because he had such little hair. I was like, oh my shit, Tim McGraw's kind of bald. Not anymore though, but he was in that.
I actually liked the characters in the TV show better than their counterparts in the movie too. I liked Riggins better than the kid that was that guy in the movie, and I liked the quarterbacks better in the show. But the movie was good. I think I liked the show better because you got to see it go for seasons, and then they completely overhauled the people and you brought all new people in, and that was the first time I saw Michael B. Jordan act, and I've liked him ever since. So,
yeah. And just so our listeners know, that question was not the Stumper question.
No. So by any means. it's just a question. So Theo, there are 2 people who are in the TV show and the movie. There are 2 people who are in the movie that were also in the TV show, and it's pretty prominent people. Not that the TV show, most of the characters to me felt like they were prominent. I didn't think there was a lot of non-prominent people in the movie, in the TV show, but there were 2 people that were pretty prominent characters on the TV show that were also in the movie.
Wasn't one of them the white running back? He had a real southern accent.
Was one of them what?
The white running back.
No.
Okay.
Actually, the funny thing is, these 2 were married in the movie. They were a couple in the movie. They were not a couple on the TV show, but they were a couple in the movie.
Yeah, I only saw the movie once. So, yeah, I'm not going to be able to. I don't know that one. Honestly, I don't.
So it was the coach's wife.
Okay.
The lady that played and then the guy that played Buddy Garrity.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So they were actually a married couple in the movie, which I didn't know it until I watched the movie after I watched the TV show. I was like, oh, look, they were in the TV show too.
Yeah, I saw the movie one time. I liked it, but I just never watched it again for whatever reason.
the lady that played the wife of the coach ended up being in another show that my wife really liked.
Nashville?
Nashville, yeah. She's like kind of like the journeywoman of shows. Like she's on a show for a while, and then all of a sudden she's kicked off the show. So I don't know.
She's easy on the eyes. She's easy on the eyes.
Yeah, I guess not really one of my. I wouldn't say I would like. Yeah, I wouldn't throw out her bed, but I know this sounds kind of horrible, but I wouldn't throw out her bed, but it wouldn't be my first throw.
Clearly, she's more me and Joe than on that one.
She wouldn't be my first choice to bring into my bed either.
Oh Lord.
And yes, ladies, I do sound like a pig.
And if we weren't talking about sports movies, this would have went a totally different direction right about
yes,
now.
Yes,
and Darth Pat would have fallen asleep.
Let me just butt in real quick in reference to what Jeremy was saying. Disclaimer: the opinions of Jeremy do not represent the opinions of the other people on this podcast. Thank you.
Nice, Darth Pat. That better be running across the next podcast.
That's fun. Oh yes. Oh, we're all horrible people to each other.
Oh man.
So yeah, no, that's a good stumper. Like that's interesting that they actually had two people from the movie in the show. There might have been more, but I think like you.
No, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. So very interesting. I was gonna say I wasn't sure if the quarterback from the movie was in the TV show, but I wasn't sure.
He was not. No.
But all right, so let's move on to our next topic. Do you prefer sports movies that are original, so they're original movies, or that they're actually based on a true story? And I'm kind of mixed on this one, guys. I've enjoyed quite a few original stories, but I really, really enjoy the ones that are, based, and I throw my air quotes up here, based on a true story, because we know how much they're really based. They're like, okay, this is what happened. Now, how can we make it theatrically more appealing to the crowd that's going to watch it? Yeah. So based on it, meaning probably the people in the story or the people that they're going to reference, but how it actually how the ending is true, but all the filler, all the other stuff is filler. But I have enjoyed those. Like one of the original ones I can say that I really enjoyed that was a football movie was The Game Plan with The Rock. That was one of his earlier films, but that one was funny. I liked, it was a Disney movie.
With the bedazzled football?
Yes, with the bedazzled football. His dog and there was a couple other, there was good characters in that, not just The Rock's character, though he was the main character. There was other good characters in that. That was a good original movie, but I always enjoy Disney movies too, especially, well, I enjoy all Disney movies for the most part. There's a couple stinkers out there that I've seen. But so those are always good. There was
for years Disney had their finger on the pulse completely for sports movies. There was a period where it I think they just ran out of stuff to do, because they had I felt like every year they were coming out with one or two good sports movies back when I used to live in PA with you guys. I felt like I was going to see something every other year or twice a year, and it was like Disney had it all figured out, and I think they've run out of stuff to make movies about, sports movies, based on true stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always a million stories out there. It's just, can you twist them? Can you tweak them enough to make them interesting to a crowd? The movie-going crowd. That's where you're going to run into a lot of problems with certain types of stories and stuff like that. And, but it's funny because The Rock did that movie, and then he did The Tooth Fairy, which was like a huge freaking stink.
Shit pile. It was The Rock's Marine.
But then he goes on to do Gridiron Gang, which was based on a true story, which was a phenomenal movie. And he did an even much better job in acting in that movie and playing that character. And I thought it was really cool, too, at the end of that movie, how they showed the real life scene compared to the theatrical scene. And it was cool to see those two things happen and hear the real coach at that the juvenile detention center that they were, that it was based on and stuff like that, and hear him talk and things like that, and hear how they actually did use real lines that the guy actually said, and things like that. I thought that was really cool.
Make it authentic. That's a good way to do it for certain situations. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a really good movie, and that was, and that's one of those movies that really makes you kind of think about the state of the world, kind of in a way, because here you got kids that are coming to these juvenile detention centers that are coming from different areas of, what was it, in California, where they was it California based, like that detention center? I can't remember exactly where.
I think it was.
But you're talking about kids that are coming from different streets, which means they have different gangs that they run with, and now they're all in the same area. And this guy is able to get these kids to put aside their differences and say, okay, yeah, you grew up on this street and you grew up on this street, but you're not on those streets anymore. Like, that shit don't matter no more right here. Right now you've got to live your life and treat this guy right here that you're going to be on this football team like right now, like another human being, and trust that he's going to have your back regardless of where the fuck you grew up. And it's crazy to think that he was able to do that with some of these kids that were coming in from these hardcore street gangs and stuff like that. Like that's really, really, really crazy and an amazing thing to do, because if you can reach some of these kids that are going through some of that stuff in these really bad areas of the country and change their lives like that, that's just making this country a better place. And and we know there's a lot of people out there that do that. It's just we don't get to hear about them like we did in the movie in the movie Gridiron Gang. So it's cool, very cool. So what about you, Theo? What do you prefer, original or true story based?
I'm kind of on the fence with this. It can go either way. But there's based on a true story. I like those because I like to see what led up to the finishing point of that person or that team or that specific event happens. Because most of it, you kind of know, you kind of hear, like read, okay, this is what happened, what happened, whatever the case may be, but what's the journey that gets you there? But then at the same time, it's kind of like a little torn because there was that, I can't remember the name of it, the movie with Michael Orr.
Blindside.
The Blind Side?
Blindside, yes. So I read a thing with him where overall he thought the movie was okay, but it was one of those things where they changed, I think, too much to make it theatrical, where, people loved the movie the way it was. Sandra Bullock, I think, got nominated for an award for her portrayal of that person in the movie. But at the same time, she won. I don't really think Patrick, because you're the movie guy.
I'm just throwing that in there.
No, I'm saying that's good.
He seems a little disgusted by the fact that she won that too.
Yeah, she won. But she did a good job. But there was like a lot of things where certain situations where they, for whatever reason, they changed it for a theatrical version. But the original way about how things went about for Michael Orr growing up and meeting that family, they could have left it kind of the original way of how it truly happened. Made it more authentic, and I think the movie would have been actually even a little bit better than what it was. It was good, but I do like, I do like some original stuff like Space Jam. Gotta throw that out there. No, I'm only kidding. One movie though, I mean, do you want to talk about original? The Big Lebowski. You got a bowling movie. Let's throw something out there that's not, one of the top four main sports. Related to the top four sports leagues in the United States, or fighting. You got the bowling, the Big Lebowski.
What was the other bowling movie that was out there with
Kingpin?
Kingpin.
Kingpin, yep. So that was a good original movie, the Big Lebowski. I'll take that. So I kind of like both, but I think I'm more drawn to like the based on a true story type of stuff, more authentic and real.
I can agree. That was a good one. Yeah, Kingpin. That one's funny. That was. I could picture the one dude's face, and I forgot Woody Harrelson's in that movie. But yeah, that movie's really funny because Woody Harrelson has the fake hand because didn't he get caught in the freaking machine that pulls the balls up? Like, oh my god, like this is just silly, but because that's the same dude that was the guy that plays the Amish kid, isn't the Amish kid, air quotes again. Wasn't he in Cabin Boy? Wasn't that the guy that was in Cabin Boy and like comes out and he's like, these pipes are clean? I'm
He
pretty
might
sure
have
that's
been, actually.
I'm pretty sure it's the guy from Cabin Boy. I didn't see that movie. I just remember that line because that was the line that they played on like all the little snippets and stuff like that, all the previews. So, all right, AJ, how about you?
I'm kind of like both of you guys. I'm kind of in the middle. I think there's good things that have come out of both camps essentially. So, Varsity Blues is a really good like original story. I don't want your life.
His southern accent was not very good, though. It was kind of funny.
I really like that movie, and like Coach Carter is another good like one that was that wasn't really that was kind of an original story.
Yeah, that was a really good movie.
So, but then I'm pretty sure me and Joe, even though the program that's kind of based on Florida State, I feel like me and Joe have kind of faced that realization that movie was loosely based on Florida State, correct?
Any given Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good movie.
Hey Pat, how much of Rudy was accurate?
Some,
like half. Like half.
I don't know an exact number. The jersey laying scene didn't happen. Dan Devine was not opposed to playing him.
Okay.
It's like they needed like a kind of like a third act, obstacle, basically.
Make him more theatrical. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Few other things, but those are the main things.
Okay.
Because those are kind of like the high points and everything.
That's a really good movie too. I mean, I do like Rudy a lot. So
I think they also said that the chanting for him began in the stands, not on the sidelines.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm not. Just because I went to Notre Dame for 2 years doesn't mean I'm some Rudy expert. I'm not a fan of the real Rudy. So.
No, I know you said he's a douche, but
he's a hustler. He's Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That's the main thing too. You want to talk about this. It's always hard, of course, to find somebody who looks like somebody else to play them in a based on a true story movie. Yeah. Sean Astin looks nothing like the way that the real Rudy Rudiger looked at the time. If they cast somebody who looked closer to the real Rudy Rudiger, you would not be rooting for him as much as you are. But because he looks like fucking Sean Astin, you're rooting for him.
So was Rudy Rudiger actually like a normal like normal size, like you would think of a football player?
He was not big at all. I mean,
okay.
Everything that they said about him in terms of his athletic stature, like 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, that was accurate.
Oh, okay.
It's just that like I'm talking like facially.
So he looks like
wasn't as pretty.
Yeah, well, he wasn't baby faced. Sean Astin was very baby faced and really, frankly, still is almost 30 years later now. But the Rudy Rudiger was not baby faced in the least. So you can find pictures of him from then and from now, and you'll kind of see what I mean. But he's basically made an entire career then off of being a motivational speaker because of that movie and everything. So he's basically a hustler. So.
Hey, Favreau, and that's where Favreau and Vince Vaughn met. Was on the set for that movie. So
yeah, I always forget that Vince Vaughn's in that movie until I watch it. Like I watch it randomly here, and I'm like, oh shit, that's Vince Vaughn. He's the smart ass. He's the dickhead. Yeah, he's the dickhead like running back dude.
Yeah.
No, 44, I think he was.
Yeah, he is. You've just been demoted.
Yeah. It's funny, he goes from that to doing Dodgeball, which is probably one of my favorite films besides The Wedding Crashers that he's been in. Like, I love Dodgeball and a true underdog story.
Yeah, Dodgeball's another good sports movie that's not about one of the main, sports.
Yeah, that actually made up.
It's about a totally fake sport. So.
Yeah.
Which is not fake anymore because they actually have professional dodgeball leagues now. Because of that movie, now all of a sudden professional dodgeball leagues exist. So who knows if they would have existed if that movie would have never been made, which is pretty freaking funny to me.
Yeah. The funniest thing for me about the movie Dodgeball is that when I was growing up, what they were playing, we did not call dodgeball.
What did you call it?
Bombardment.
That sounds even worse, like bombardment.
Yeah. I feel like the locker room name for that with us was Smear the Queer. So back when I was younger.
I mean, dodgeball to me, like the game that I was taught as dodgeball was like everybody standing in like a circle, and one or more people are in the middle of the circle, and there's like one or two balls, and you have to, like, if you're in the circle, you have to avoid getting hit with the balls as people are throwing it back.
I played it the way they did it in the movie when I was in school. So
yeah,
it's just it could just be one of those things. I don't know, but like I said, I mean,
Heard about various types. That was one I've never heard of.
Yeah, I never heard of that one. That's for
Circle
sure.
Version.
There's other things that happen in the
Interesting,
circle, but we can't talk about those on the air. But yes, AJ, I have heard the term that you use too.
Yeah, I've never heard that one.
No, I've definitely heard that, and that was something like, I think we used to use that in like junior high. It was like we used to call it smear the,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
let's not call it that anymore.
Well, and that, that's high school.
that.
That's like freaking what am I? I'm 42 years old.
Right,
so
Pat. This was like
junior high. It was like 30-some years old.
Right.
30
So
some years ago.
Nobody's gonna dig the videotape up at me and say you can't do this for 6 months because you said this on a fucking podcast.
Yeah, we don't know that though.
So just remember, we still have footage of you, Darth Pat. That's all I'm gonna say.
We got you on film, big man.
I don't even know what they're talking about, Pat.
I don't know what he's talking about either because I don't remember. This is where it's good I don't have a good memory sometimes anymore.
If I say Mizark, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go. Yes. I do remember that.
I have no clue.
Care to forget? No. So let's kick it over to you, Darth Pat. Which one do you prefer? Real life? Well, based on true stories or originals?
I mean, again, I like various ones of both, but I do always feel like with based on true story ones, they're either going to change too many details, leave out too many details, or just not really give you the whole story that, you see it and it's like, oh my God, it's so great, whatever. Then, you kind of watch Carlito show his ass on camera.
Oh. Hey,
how are you, Cat? How old are you now, Cat? God.
16 or 17.
Yeah, he looks at his face looks old. For all our listeners, Carlito is a cat
that decided to visit.
Just in case you were wondering why somebody's showing their butt on our podcast, it's a cat. Don't worry, nobody is inappropriate in that sense. Yet, at least, hopefully.
Sorry to interrupt. He jumped up here.
Anyway,
no worries.
The problem that I have with based on true story, well, I think I just said it, and then there's too many times I can't tell you where I've watched like a based on a true story movie, and then I go to like read more or find out more about it, and then I see that's like, this character was invented for the movie, or this character was a composite of two others, or these events were, and it just goes, yeah. Obviously, there's reasons why they do that cinematically. We could go into we could go into all the film theory for reasons why that, but I don't know. It just, when I read that, and you're going to read that about like every based on true story sports movie that's out there.
I agree.
It does kind of temper my enjoyment of those movies then. Just for whatever reason, it just does. So, I mean, so that way, like, originals have more freedom in that respect. They can they can do what they want. They're not bound to a story. They don't have to worry about changing things. So there's a lot more freedom, and because of that, also, I think it can be a lot more enjoyable in a lot of ways.
So we got three tweeners on of the wrestling world torn on our views. And one that wants the fictional story. Yes, that's what I'm looking at, the fictional story. So no, that's good. It's crazy. There's so many good movies out there, and I'm sure we could just name 1,000 good movies out there. But we've named some. There's what's one of the other movies that I can't think of one of the other movies. What's another movie that one of you guys really, really like that we can?
Another one that I actually saw with Theo. We went to see We Are Marshall.
I've never seen that. I wanted to see it and I always forget about it. Damn.
That's good. That's a really good movie. Yeah,
Yep.
me and Theo really liked that movie.
Matthew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm sure he did not do that.
All right.
And I'm sure he didn't do that during that movie.
No. It was a really good movie. Definitely very, very good.
The Sandlot.
Oh, The Sandlot. That was real. I don't remember it as much as I wish I did, but I remember watching that as a kid, and that was so good.
When the kid fakes drowning, that's my favorite part. When the kid fakes drowning in that movie.
Wouldn't you if the lifeguard was that hot? You know.
I know
Theo
Theo would have.
Oh yeah.
Theo probably did actually do that. I wouldn't be shocked.
I plead the fifth.
That sounds like a yes to me.
I'm not going down that road right now. That's for another podcast.
But you mentioned Coach Carter, and I can't remember if that was based on a true story or not. I want to say it was, but I could
Not
be
really.
wrong.
I don't think it is.
Okay, but if either way, if it is or isn't, and somebody can look that up, I can look it up. That movie was awesome. I love that movie. That's one of those roles that he was built for. And when I say built for,
Yeah, he
Sam
was.
Jackson. Yeah, he was the right actor to play that coach. Like, he has the temperament, just his person, just the kind of actor he is fits that coach. And that's like, and it's funny because that's when I first really enjoyed Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I ever saw Channing Tatum in.
And
so
it's funny, he goes from that to, I know he had a couple other roles in smaller roles again. He does the dance movie. What the hell was that? Step Up. And then he goes and plays Duke in G.I. Joe, and he's like, I don't really want to do those kind of movies. Let me go back to the dance movies. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, what the hell? Like, so I was like, ooh, good actor. Like, this is cool. And then he's like doing G.I. Joe, and I'm like, oh, boo, you suck. Like, you want to do dance movies. Forget you suck now. I don't want to.
You know, the reason he didn't want to do G.I. Joe was because he had done like a real life war movie, and he was disturbed by like the real life stuff that he didn't like the war components of G.I. Joe. I thought that's what I read, but that's a while ago, so I don't know.
Jeremy Skills from One Tree Hill is also in Coach Carter.
Yes, he is. I do. Yes,
he was in Sunset Park. He loves to do basketball movies because he's actually a pretty good basketball player, like in real life. So, there's a really cool part in that Coach Carter where that like Hispanic kid gets kicked off the team, and they make him come back, and all the other kids do all the push-ups and run and all the sit-ups to for him so he can come back on the team. That's a really cool part in that movie. So
yes it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have one of the other movies that I know I really enjoyed, and though it's based on the team that they emulate is not one of Matt's foregone favorite teams, is Major League. That's another really good sports movie, just for the comical aspect of it, regardless of the team. Once again, regardless of the team, the movie is really fucking funny. Like, it's a really, really good movie.
I mean, they were making fun of that organization when they came out with that movie because they sucked.
True.
So,
and having Bob Uecker be the play-by-play guy,
spectacular.
Just a bit outside.
And the cardboard of the new GM or whatever.
Yeah,
every time they won, they got a piece of it, her clothing off of it. Yes, I guess.
It is funny. It is a funny movie.
And I can't think of the actor's name, but he plays the guy that worships Jobu, and he's like constantly giving the little guy his Jobu's giving him rum and shit like that. And then he found what's that?
Dennis Haysbert.
Thank you, Darth Pat. So Dennis Haysbert, plays that role is just hilarious because he's giving the little doll fucking rum, and nobody should steal the rum, and then what's his name drinks the rum. He's like drinks the rum, and then at the very end he's like, Jobu, help me. Fuck you. I do it on my own. Fuck you, Jobu. Fuck you, Jobu. There's just some really funny stuff in The Wild Thing, played by Charlie Sheen. To think of where he was then and now how freaking nuts he is.
Yeah,
like he
so
kind of
true.
fell off the reservation.
Another classic I love is Caddyshack.
Yes.
Caddyshack. You have a lot of good old actors in that movie, but, it's just fucking hilarious all around.
I have that written down, but I think Happy Gilmore is my favorite golf movie, so I'm partial to Happy Gilmore. So
yeah,
I'll put Happy Gilmore as my number 2.
Yeah, and it really goes down to like who you.
I like Caddyshack a lot too, though. So I have both of those written down.
Yeah, because Caddyshack's one of those timeless movies. You got Rodney Dangerfield when he was real popular and he was, doing his shtick with no respect, no respect. And you had Bill Murray, who was Darth Pat might know better than me.
He played the groundskeeper in that movie.
Yeah, he was the groundskeeper, but he was that before. I think that was before Ghostbusters.
Yes.
But
yeah.
that was But that was still when he was on SNL too, right? He was still on Saturday Night Live pretty regularly. That I don't know. I'm not sure if Darth Pat knows that or not.
The Caddyshack came out in 1980, which I think was his last year on Saturday Night Live, I want to say. I'm not 100% positive. So it was if he was still on SNL at the time, it was at the very end of his SNL tenure.
Right. So you have a
and of course, the funny thing about that too was that he essentially replaced Chevy Chase on SNL, and there had been like a fight between Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, like backstage at SNL when Chase came back to host an episode. But they supposedly had, gotten over it by then. And a lot of people say, like, when they use like the word fight, it was like play slapping at each other. They said, but the funny thing is there is only the one scene between the two of them in the movie, which is still one of the funnier scenes because it's like, Chevy Chase's character is like practicing at night for like the big, showdown the next day, and he. Bill Murray's character is like building the explosives to kill the groundhog, and Bill Murray gives him this like synthetic marijuana that he's like creating or something, and there's
oh yes,
yeah, it was a pretty funny scene, but it is interesting because I think not only is that the only scene that the two of them shared in that movie, I think that's the only scene that those two guys have ever been in any movie. So it's pretty interesting considering that they're both so closely associated with SNL and everything.
Whenever go ahead.
It just goes to show you, even actors, just like real people, because they are real people, don't always get along, but they'll do what they need to do to make a film.
Chevy Chase is notorious for being a pain in the ass. So
I've heard that.
Whenever I go back and watch Happy Gilmore, I always forget Ben Stiller's in it. So
he is.
Well, you forget that. Well, then you can trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up.
Where's he in that movie? Why can't I remember?
He plays the person that's in charge of the retirement home that he has to take his mom to.
Oh,
I just said the line.
I know you said the line, but I can't remember where he was in the movie.
Well, that's kind of hard.
I remember the line. I just couldn't remember where he was in the movie. But that, yes.
Good news, we're extending arts and crafts time by 4 hours today. My fingers hurt. What's that? My fingers hurt. Oh, well now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. Anybody else's fingers hurt? I didn't think so.
Ben Stiller, I mean, you gotta think, he is great in those characters. I mean,
weird, nutty roles.
Heavyweights, like he was the crazy camp counselor guy.
Well, dodgeball.
I mean,
Zoolander.
he's nuts. I know we're kind of getting off topic, but I
know he just plays a lot of weird, nutty roles. Hey, Joe,
he does.
Like the? I know you said you like fighting movies. What about Bleed for This? Did you like that?
It was okay.
What about The Karate Kid?
When I was a kid, it was cool. When I got older, it was okay.
Oh, I still like The Karate Kid. I still think it's cool. So
here's my thing with The Karate Kid. I still enjoy The Karate Kid, but when I look at certain parts of that movie, like it's always towards the ending, of course. It's always like the ending fight scene. Who in their right mind is going to charge a guy that looks like he's going to try and kick you in the face? Like, come on, when he does the crane, he's all, up in the crane. I'm like, nobody in the right mind is actually going to like jump and try and get this guy. Like, come on.
Well, I can think of a possibility. I mean, your mileage may vary as to if it works or not, but somebody who's not properly trained. No, but seriously, it's
and that would fit. That would fit.
Somebody who's not ready for it. Somebody who's like confused by what he's doing because he hasn't been taught what he's doing, and so he literally walks right into it. You know.
Come on, Johnny, put him in a body bag.
I mean, I like the movie, yeah, but just I think I liked it more when I was younger than I do as I got older. For me,
the funny thing is, The Karate Kid is a movie that I did not watch for the first time until sometime within the last, I want to say, 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I see, because when I think it first came out, I was a little too young for it. It came out, 1984? I mean, I was 3, so I guess that wasn't one of those ones that I was like catching all the time on HBO growing up or whatever. But yeah, I can definitely also see where that can be the kind of movie that, like, the more you watch it, the less you enjoy it. Like, there's certain elements to it that I don't think you're just like really necessarily like get better as you watch it over and over again. And that's not like, to say that it's bad, because it's not bad, but that is something that I think you can encounter with a lot of different movies. So. Yeah.
Well, in the Karate Kid 2, where he's over in Okasawa, Japan, or Okinawa, not Okasawa, Okinawa. And he's doing they're doing the drum thing. They're rubbing their hand, doing the drums. And he's like, oh, I do the drum. I mean, who the hell is gonna stand there and get punched in the face? Like, I decided to forget how to guard a punch.
I like the first 2, and then after that, they lost me. Like,
I've never watched any but the first.
The 3rd one, and then the one with Hilary Swank. No, so but I do like the Cobra Kai show too. I do watch that, and that's pretty entertaining too. So
yeah, they just released that on Netflix. Like, I saw when they were allowed them to be free on YouTube. I was watching them pretty religiously, but then all of a sudden, shit came up, and they all of a sudden were all paid for. I was like, oh, well, no.
Yeah, now you can watch both seasons on Netflix, and then I don't know when season 3 is coming out, but.
Yeah, I gotta watch it yet. I haven't.
It's fun. It's nostalgic for sure. Like, if you like, we're the '80s babies. It's nostalgic for us. If you watch Karate Kid when you were a kid. So.
Yeah.
One movie I did watch when I was I first watched that probably in the early '90s is a early '80s movie because Stallone's in it. It was Victory. It was actually a soccer movie.
I have that written down. That movie's awesome because Pele was actually in that movie. Yep. So you actually got to see Pele like play soccer in that. I have that movie written down, Joe. That movie was awesome.
It was. Yeah. It was like World War II, and they get stuck over there as like during the time of Hitler and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a cool movie.
Yes, definitely.
In there. Michael Caine, I think, was in that movie too.
That was
a cool movie.
It was.
Yeah, I never saw that one. That's one I haven't seen.
I have that one written down even with the thing. I'm surprised somebody else saw it when they were a kid besides me.
There was a time where I was like, I like Stallone. So there was a time where I kind of went back and tried to find all the movies he was in and try to watch all of his movies and see like, all the different stuff and compare it and see where he's come from his start to where he was at in that.
And me and my brothers liked soccer, so that's why we liked that. It was a soccer movie. So
what was the other hockey movie that was really big?
Slapshot?
No, not Slapshots. No, it takes place in Alaska.
Mystery Alaska.
Yeah, Mystery Alaska. That's what it is. That one was really good too. That was a really good. Like, just
that was early Russell Crowe too. Like, that was one of the first times I saw Russell Crowe in something.
Yeah, he was still very much. That was
not
like right
crazy.
After that was well, I'm gonna say that was like right after L.A. Confidential, which was like the first thing that really got him noticed, and I think that was actually the same year as A Beautiful Mind. So, or no, I think actually no, I'm sorry, it was still. It was still before Gladiator and A Beautiful Mind. It was the same year as The Insider, which was the one about the 60 Minutes, the tobacco scandal, where he played like the scientist. So yeah, he was still on his way up at that point. So
Another fun movie was Bad News Bears.
Yes.
Oh, the original
Which
is
one?
so
Yes,
good.
the original Bad News
Original.
Bears.
Well, I mean, the new one was okay. It was
It
funny.
fine too, but like
Yeah.
the original
the original's better though.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. I've
those-
seen both.
Those shits were funny.
They could get away with more in the original, I feel like. I feel like they
Yeah.
could get away with more just because the times fit that kind of movie a little bit better, the time period in which the original was made. You know, because Billy Bob Thornton was good in the
He was the right person to play it in the newer one.
Yeah, he definitely
absolutely.
was.
The
But
originals
yeah,
were good.
I prefer the original in that one.
Pat, there's a movie with your boy Shaq in it that you haven't said yet. You talked about it in the podcast where you talked about Shaq being good, but you haven't said anything about it in this one.
I have never seen that movie.
You've never seen Blue Chips? That was so
Oh
good.
no, I've seen Blue Chips. Yeah,
You talked about it in a podcast where you talked about Shaq.
I assumed you were referring to Kazam. I don't know why.
That's not a
but-
sports
That's not a sports movie, Pat. So I don't know how that applies.
Well, it's because it's 20 of midnight, and
Now you're making excuses.
The brain is shutting down slowly. So
Right.
So yeah, no, Blue Chips was really good.
Blue Chips is good because it's one of those movies where it shows the seedy underbelly, if you will, of the sports world. So yeah.
because that was college basketball based, if I remember correctly. That was
Oh
college.
yes.
Yeah.
Very
With
much
all
so.
the-
Shaq, Penny Hardaway, and Matt Norville were all like in it, and they were all college guys. That
Yeah. And Nick Nolte was a good character in that. He had a really good character in that movie too, because he was the coach, if I remember correctly, in that one. He played.
Yeah, he was the main character. So yeah.
Speaking of
Because he's the one.
Nolte,
Because he's the one who's faced with does he sell out and willingly go along with this just to finally get the great players and get back up to the top where he once was. So
Yeah.
speaking of Nick Nolte, he was in that football movie North Dallas 40.
North Dallas 40, which is one that I don't think so many people remember anymore
About the
because
Cowboys.
it was late 70s, but that's a very good one.
Yeah, that one I've never seen.
It's worth checking. It's worth checking
Yeah.
out if you've never seen it.
So it's like about the Dallas Cowboys and about how back in the 70s, how the players about sex, drugs, and backstabbing and this, that, and the next thing, like very different football era, I would say.
Yeah, it's like
Sounds like the '80s Cowboys too.
Oh no, the early 90s Cowboys.
I don't know. I don't know if you remember that because it was very short lived. That show that ESPN aired, Playmakers. And that was in like the early to mid 2000s because like it showed like kind of like again like a dark underbelly of the NFL with like the way that they give guys stuff just to make sure that they were still on the field and shit like that. And
Same thing.
the NFL publicly expressed displeasure over it, so ESPN only aired it for like one season. North Dallas 40 was kind of like the proto Playmakers and the way like it depicted seediness.
Like you're injured, you go get your shots, you do this, you take this pills, you can't, you don't miss a game, you don't miss practice, you do what it's kind of like a lot of the shady back stuff, background stuff that was going on.
The equivalent of it, just because we always talk about this, the equivalent of that, if they made like a wrestling version of that, would be if they made a wrestling version that was set when that Zahorian guy was like, running everything kind of backstage in WWF, and guys would like literally be lined up at every show in order to get like their bag of goodies.
Yeah.
Goodies, of course mean steroids. So
Yeah.
it was a lot like that. It would be like that.
I'm just giving you a cortisone shot and some B12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Two other good basketball movies: He Got Game and For the Love of Basketball. Two really good basketball movies. In my opinion, I thought they were great. He Got Game with Denzel, and I think it's not Omar Epps. I can't think of the guy that plays
Ray Allen.
What was it? Ray Allen?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Jesus Shuttleworth.
Such an interesting name for a basketball character. But yeah, that was a really good movie. And what really was really cool about that, a new colorway for Jordans came out.
Yes.
That are what?
Those are the ones I wore at my wedding. He got game 13s.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy that they actually just have a colorway specifically because of that movie.
They'll do anything to make something. It's
what we do
these days.
That's my favorite pair of shoes, like my all-time favorite pair of shoes that he got game 13. So.
Yeah, and then for the love of basketball, you had a very young Omar Epps and a very young Sanaa Lathan. Sanaa Lathan. Thank you for the proper enunciation of her name.
That would be pronunciation.
Pronunciation. Thank you. Anyways, thank you for the correction, asshole.
Glory Road's really good too. John Voight plays.
You said
Glory Road. Glory Road. John Voight plays Adolph Rupp and plays him really well.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie.
To play an asshole.
Yeah.
Ooh, ouch.
I mean, he was an asshole. He won. I'm not going to say he wasn't an asshole. So, I mean, I think Roy Williams is an asshole too. If anybody plays him in the movie, fine. It doesn't change the fact that he's a douche. So
there was a movie that I didn't realize came out that I'm surprised you haven't made a interesting comment about that depicts LeBron James's high school career in the Fab Five.
I already talked about that to Joe earlier. Remember when I said More Than a Game? That's the LeBron James movie, yeah.
I couldn't remember the title of that one. That's why
that's Joe's all-time favorite sports movie.
Throw that shit in the fucking trash compactor.
But I was reading it, and like I said, I couldn't remember the title of it because I just saw it on Rotten Tomatoes, like top 150 all time, and it was on the top 150. I was like, oh my god, really? But it was funny to read it like about a high school coach. And I'm like, come on, like, shut the fuck up.
I mean, he did, like, I'll at least say he got those kids out of getting, they would have probably been on the streets doing stuff. So he did, the guy that coached them, did get them off the streets, and they did play basketball. I mean, that part of it's not made up. That part of it is legitimately true. And LeBron was a really good high school player. He was a really good high school player. And that's the part of the story that's good, that this guy put them in basketball, made them play basketball to get them off the streets so their lives weren't ruined. So and that's cool, but it's just the way that it reads. Like I'm reading this, I'm like, oh god, I just couldn't buy into wanting to even think about watching that movie based on what the read was for it. I mean, it's weird that. It's weird to me that LeBron went to a Division II. It was like a Division II school. It wasn't a Division I school in Ohio, so it was like a Division II school. So he played in the state championship game, I think, all 4 years. But he wasn't. They were playing against like Division I teams from the out of state, like his last 2 years. But they were playing in the Division II, which isn't the biggest like division. Like it's the not the biggest schools. It's the next size down. So it's weird that he went to a school and played against probably weaker competition, at least his first 2 years he was in high school. Once they figured out who he was and that they could schedule playing teams in California, and his games were on TV a lot. But his first 2 years, he played against weaker competition, like I think.
So that's like PA. PA breaks them into 6 all the way up to 6A now. So you got 6A, 5A, 4A, where it used to be 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A. So
that would have been like 2A there. LeBron was playing in like 2A.
No, he would have been in a 3A probably because 4A was the top, 3A was the next size. So he would have been 3A. Yeah, which it just goes. It's just not that LeBron probably would have had trouble playing against any competition just because we know what LeBron can do, but it's one of those things where he should be playing at the top of the top all the time, no matter what, because of how good he was in high school and just what he is now. All right, so let's jump into our last topic real quick here. What makes for a good sports movie? Before anybody answers, just a quick announcement. Thanks everybody for tuning into YouTube, catching us on Twitter, Spotify, not Twitter, Jesus mighty. I'm doing it again, guys. Catching us on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. We do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're catching us on YouTube, make sure you're hitting that like button, giving us a big thumbs up. Make sure you're setting your notifications to on, as well as subscribing to our channel. If you're catching us on iTunes, make sure you leave us a rating so we can jump up there and more people like yourselves can hear us. And catch us on Twitter. This is where Twitter comes in. Catch us on Twitter at @4 guys with a Z roundtable, and leave us interact with us there, as well as stay tuned to the end of our show to catch the Mount Rushmore, which is based on favorite movies. I think maybe not. We'll find out when we get there. All right, so. Who wants to kick us off with what makes a good sports movie? We'll keep this short and sweet.
You can go.
I can go? Okay, I'll go. For me, it's kind of like with any movie. I mean, sports movies to me are no different than any other movie. It's got to have a good story. It's got to be believable. And it's got to keep me engaged through the whole thing. Like, you can't have periods of lull where there's, like, nothing going on. It's just... like, oh, here's a whole bunch of backstory that you're going to probably forget by the time we get to the good stuff again. So, especially when it comes to the ones that are based on true stories, like keep it as close to the real story as possible. Don't go too far off. Because like Darth Pat said, he'll go and read, the stuff about the actual events and like that. So I don't go and do that because I don't want to spoil it for myself. I don't want to do that. I'd rather just make believe that, oh, this was as close as possible. But yeah, make it as close as possible. And if you're going to make it original, make it realistic. Don't go freaking crazy Donkey Kong like shit with me. Just give me something that's real, is real enough. Like Jerry Maguire. I don't really consider it a sports movie. It kind of is, kind of isn't. But it's realistic because you got the sports agent that's trying to do better for his his one client that he's got, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., which was a really good role for him. That's realistic in the sense of sports movies from an agent side of the movie.
Yeah.
The corniest line, "You had me from a hello." I hate that line in that movie, but like this line, that's corny. But that's it for me. Keep me entertained, make it realistic, and don't go too far from the real story on a based on true story movie. Who's up? Who wants to go next? You know what? I'll just pick you. Darth Pat, hit us up. What you got?
Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
You had me at hello.
Oh, I love you too.
I felt like you needed to know that.
I did.
I sensed that you were needing that reassurance.
A tear is coming to my eye.
Good. I hope it does. I hope it does.
Way too much.
Way too much stuck in my head. Great.
Way too much going on here.
What song is stuck in your head?
I have a song stuck in my head. Keep going.
That's not my problem. I didn't say anything about a song.
Yeah, you said hello.
What makes a great sports movie? I think it's really about making sure that you're behind the protagonist, that you're rooting for the protagonist, and that it takes you on the journey where like they overcome their obstacle. They don't necessarily need to win. Because like in Rocky, he doesn't win. But do you care that he doesn't win at the end of Rocky? No, it's because he went the distance. That was the point. It was the point that proving that he could do it, So you don't always necessarily need to win. But in some cases you definitely do. Like we mentioned dodgeball earlier. I don't know how well you guys know this, but originally dodgeball ended with them losing. And like they showed it to test audiences, and test audiences shit all over, and they went back and they said, we better change the ending. And their whole point was that they were trying to kind of be like satirical then about how like every sports movie does end with like the heroes winning. Mm-hmm. But the problem was dodgeball was so silly, and it's like that had to end with the good guys winning, or otherwise it would have been shitty. But So I think you really just have to get behind the protagonist. You have to be rooting for them. You have to be given a reason to root for them, and they have to be given some kind of an obstacle to overcome, whether it's an individual or a team, or just the character's own like self doubt or disbelief in themselves, whatever it might be. That's really what I think it needs to take, because I mean, sports, they are a competition. So it's like, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. So you really have to have a feeling again that somehow like the main character, the protagonist has either won or they've like, I don't want to say learned a valuable lesson, but they've like overcome something. Because like one movie which we haven't really mentioned yet, Field of Dreams, obviously that's not about winning or losing, but at the end of it, it's about him overcoming all the the hostility and the regrets that he had in relation to his father. So he gets a chance to overcome that at the end when his father shows up. So I hope that wasn't too much of a spoiler. I just kind of assume anybody watching this has probably seen Field of Dreams.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but so it's like you have to have something to overcome, and you want to see the person overcome it at the end. If you don't have those two elements, then you're either making a comedy or a documentary, because there are sports documentaries out there. But I feel like those are the ones that are always going to be most satisfying then when you watch it.
I agree with Darth Pat. Everything he just said is what I was going to say.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So if you remember, I mentioned there was a movie that I couldn't think of that ended not the way that I thought it was going to. And I decided to look it up, and it was Friday Night Lights. Funny enough, we were talking about that. Friday Night Lights was the one movie like I'm watching. I'm like, this is gonna end where they win, and they lost. I was like, oh shit. That was the movie that I was thinking of. That I don't know why I was blanking on that.
Well, they got
anyway,
over in that. So there was that one bad call, and
yes. So that leaves us to Theo. Theo has not gone. So what makes a good sports movie for you, Theo?
All the above. Great. Let's move on.
The movie that just came out recently with Ben Affleck called The Way Back. That's a good movie where they don't win necessarily. He's trying to overcome personal trauma. It's more about his own personal life trauma than it is about like the basketball team. That's just like almost a side story because he's an alcoholic and stuff. So that's a good movie that they don't win necessarily, but he kind of overcomes his demons and gets his way back.
Yeah.
So I agree with
that's one where it's not so much about I'm sorry, Joe, the team winning and losing. It's about the main character, overcoming something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I agree with the rest of you guys. I like very hardcore plots.
Porn? You like hardcore porn?
Well, that was uncalled for. No.
Topic of another podcast conversation. All right. AJ just keeps wanting to bring that goddamn song into this podcast tonight. He's trying to find.
No, actually, that I did not. That's just what I thought of when you said that.
So yes, I like hardcore plots and stories that are very intertwined. So Pat.
Yes.
Hello. Is it me you're looking for?
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's a very bad one to have put in your head. I apologize.
Oh, wow. A little bit of Lionel Richie.
Yeah. For some reason, when he said that just popped in my head, like automatically. I'm like, why? I mean, I don't hate the song. I liked Lionel Richie's old music like that, but I was just like, popped in my head. It's very random.
Hey, just real quick, what's like, just because I'm the king of negative, what's the worst, like, what's one of the worst sports movies you've ever seen? Like, we don't have to sit here all night, but can you think of like one that was bad? Like The Tooth Fairy is one for me, for sure.
Yeah, the funny thing is that is a sports movie because that's a hockey.
Right.
Yep.
Hockey movie.
He was like the aggressor, like goon defenseman guy that was like on the ice and just used to be good at hockey and became the big goon guy. That was
kind of bad.
Shit up everybody. Yeah.
That one's kind of bad.
Yeah.
Bad one.
For me, What was a bad?
I don't mean to put you guys on. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
There was one that I was watching, and it's probably because it's a B-rate movie, and I started watching. I'm like, oh, let me watch this and see what this movie's like. It was called The Last Whistle. I only got about halfway through it, but it was pretty bad. Like, the premise of the movie's good because it's about a coach who pushes his team too hard during a practice because he wants to win. He's like, this is going to be our undefeated season. And he pushes them too hard, and one of the kids dies during practice. So it's based on the premise of him coming back from that. But because it's low budget, it's a B-rate movie, it just didn't carry itself very well. But thinking about, like, mainstream movies.
Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad. The one with
Rookie of the Year.
The one with Brandon Fraser was pretty bad. What was that Rookie of the Year?
No. The Scout.
I didn't like The Scout.
I actually like The Scout.
My problem is I don't like Brandon Fraser. I think he's a terrible freaking actor. His best movie was Encino Man.
Yes, it was. I agree with you. His best movie was Encino Man. I would agree with you on that, Jeremy.
I would say that I would definitely agree that he's a limited actor. So
correct.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't even get into the Mummy movies. Like, I couldn't even get into those.
Until The Rock was in.
I watched the first one.
Little Big League was pretty bad. So that's another
Little
baseball
Giants
movie.
Was pretty bad. Little Giants. As much as I like Rick Moranis and I like the guy that played Al Bundy, I can't freaking
Ed O'Neill.
His name. What's that?
Ed O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill. Thank you. That movie's not very good.
You mean you didn't like when the mother dressed the kid up and wrapped him all in, like, fucking bubble wrap and all that shit?
No, my favorite part is the guy that is rubbing powdered milk into his son's muscles to make him stronger and shit like that. I'm like, what the fuck? That was my favorite part of that movie. But that movie's not very good.
Pat, do you have any? Because you are, like, the movie guy on here. Do you have any?
Not that I can really think of, because I feel like I have an ability to avoid enough bad movies.
Okay.
I mean, I'm being dead serious. Like, I feel like, okay, I got one. Caddyshack 2.
Yeah, Caddyshack 2 was not very good.
Yeah, it was a very, very bad, poorly thought out idea. Jackie Mason was no Rodney Dangerfield. Dan Aykroyd was basically trying to play like this crazy character the way Murray had in the first one. Robert Stack's villain character wasn't nearly as hateable as Ted Knight's Judge Smale's character. Chase showed up again just because he's really barely in it. So therefore, like, whereas like the character that Michael O'Keefe played in the first Caddyshack was very much like an everyman type who you could root for. The de facto male lead then in the second one becomes Jonathan Silverman, and it's like Jonathan Silverman's one of those guys who he's always been too oily to really be like somebody who you're supposed to be kind of rooting for. There's always there's something about him, like, from an attitude perspective, which makes you kind of go, I don't really know if I like him. So
yeah.
So
do you have any,
I
Theo?
would think Caddyshack 2 is one I would definitely throw out there.
You said Angels in the Outfield.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I'm good with that one.
All right. Well, then I think that moves us into Mount Rushmore. So Mount Rushmore. What the hell was that?
It was a fanfare.
It was fanfare. Okay. So Mount Rushmore tonight is based on, of course, our theme of sports movies, and we are going to put up on Mount Rushmore our favorite sports movie of all time. So to kick it off, I'm going to let AJ kick it off with his favorite sports movie of all time. Go for it.
Remember the Titans. So,
you son of a bitch.
I saw that movie 3 times in the theater. Like, the first, I got to see it early because I knew somebody, and then I saw it again and again within the first week. Like, I love that. Denzel's my favorite actor, and everything about that. I'm sure that Darth Pat can tell us what's accurate and what's not accurate. I also am like you, Jeremy, and I like to just suspend that disbelief, so I don't go read about it either. I don't go spoil that for myself. So in my head, everything that happens in that movie's real. So I mean, we saw that's like the first thing I saw Ryan Gosling in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the little girl Hayden Panettiere with that when she was 10 in that movie. So, like, it's a really good movie. It's a really good story. It's a really like the topic because of what it's about with you know, just with segregation and stuff of the schools. And Pat, how much of that movie is accurate?
Don't know. I've never cared enough to look it up.
Okay, well that's nice. That's good.
Thanks, Pat.
And that's another.
He's being honest.
Yeah, but that's another one of those movies that is very, you know, not to be political or anything like that, but it's very relevant today, right now. Like where our country is right now, it's a very relevant movie and something that we could all take a little bit from to be just better goddamn people overall. Like we really could. So that's crazy. Like that's going to be one of those timeless movies that I think will always kind of be a reminder of to just be a damn better person.
There's you know, it's not a comedy, but we've seen it. Sunshine. Like we all remember that part, and the part where they're in the locker room and they're making fun of each other, and he's like, "I just carried your mom on my back to the prom." So like that movie's funny, and there's a lot of really good people. Like they played the parts well in that movie, and it was an enjoyable movie for me, and I still can watch it when it's one of those ones. Whenever it's on, I feel like I have to watch it. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, absolutely. Over to you, Darth Pat.
You know what? This is probably going to surprise you guys, but I'm honestly going to go irreverent here and go with Dodgeball because it's the great sports movie in the sense that, you know, it not only does it not care to take itself too seriously, it basically tells you that right at the bat. Like, you know, it tells you this is not a movie to take seriously. You know, you really just have kind of a good time watching it because it really is about, again, a bunch of underdogs. They're all kind of crazy characters and everything, but they're all very likable. And, you know, you want to see them beat Ben Stiller's character because he's such a dick about everything. So, and to me, it was also very unexpected. Like, I remember the comedy that everybody was really anticipating that year was Anchorman. But Dodgeball came out first, and I think Dodgeball kind of blew it all away. Like, I remember, you know, AJ, I know at least you and I went to go see that together. I don't know who else was with us.
What, Dodgeball or Anchorman?
Dodgeball.
Yeah, I thought I went to see both of them with you, possibly.
No, probably, but I'm just saying, like, there was like more people with us.
Sean, I'm sure Sean went.
Yeah, I don't think Joe and Jeremy were. So
they were not.
But I just remember pretty much was just like laughing nonstop throughout the whole thing, just because again the absurdity of it, you know, worked. And then when they got to like the third act when they were in Las Vegas and everything, you know, you add in like Gary Cole and Jason Bateman's announcer characters who are, you know,
yeah,
just
Jason Bateman was awesome in that.
Yeah, everything that they say is pretty funny between the two of them. They're probably one of the best announcing pairs in any movie. And then you have just like all those cameos all of a sudden, you know, from Lance Armstrong to Chuck Norris to William Shatner and everything, just to David Hasselhoff, just all showing up. Yeah, just randomly all showing up at the end and everything, and then of course there's the great irony of what Armstrong says to Vince Vaughn's character to get him to go back, you know, and win the tournament again, because that was Lance Armstrong oh, look at that, he was doing steroids. So there's a definite added level of irony now all these years later with that having happened. So. I mean, there's a lot of great sports movies that are out there that I love and I could list off, but I don't want to just for fear of taking one of your guys' choices. But I also kind of enjoy those times where you can not take it as seriously. And to me, Dodgeball is one that I can, you know, rewatch parts of, like, you know, at any time and just be entertained. So
that's right. Thank you, Chuck Norris.
Thank you, Chuck Norris. Or of course, the last line of the movie. Fucking Chuck Norris.
The Hoff was in there, man. That's all that counts.
And what was it? The 5 Ds of Dodgeball: dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge.
Yeah, how Dodge was the first and the last one, and now even how he's saying it, he basically says it like when he gets to Dodge the second time, there's that kind of like brief pause where he's almost kind of like looking around to say, yeah, I am saying that a second time.
So yeah,
when he's throwing the wrenches at him.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah, Rip Torn's character is awesome in that movie.
Yep.
All right, I'll go next unless Theo, you would like to give yours. See, and this is tough for me because I'm going to be perfectly honest. AJ stole mine. Remember the Titans. It's just one of my favorite movies of all time. But if I had to throw another one up there, it would, for me, just based on what I really, really like about movies in general and really good sports movie, I would have to say probably Coach Carter. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit before, but I really, really enjoy that movie. Now, I haven't seen it in a long time just because it's not one of those movies that comes on a lot to pretty much any television channel or
I mean, I own it, so that's why I own it. So,
and I think it might be a Disney movie if I remember correctly. That might be a Disney movie. I'm not sure, but it's just one of those movies that, because of the theme of it, because of he's helping these kids, trying to keep these kids off the street, give them something to work towards, teaching them the game of basketball, which is right up my freaking alley. And even though they lose in that movie, that's another one where they lose, but that one didn't surprise me as much as like it did with Friday Night Lights. They were building towards something, and even though they lost, they really kind of won because of what they were able to build within themselves as people. And it's a feel good, it's a triumphant story. And the fact that he has names for all the plays instead of like play 1, play 2, he's like, this one's named after my sister this, and I'll never remember the names, but he names the plays after his sisters or relatives, and they're all female names, which is really funny too. But the lockout with the school, every kid's gonna get 2.5 grade point average, like it's barely a C. Like he's like, you just gotta get a C. Like every kid should be able to get a C to be able to play basketball. And the fact that the parents were, ranting and raving like this isn't fair. It's like, yeah, it's not fair to your kids not to be smart enough to be able to, possibly go to college and possibly be able to get a job at McDonald's. Like, that's so I thought that was really cool too, because I'm a big fan of when it comes to kids' eligibility to play sports, you need to perform in school too. And being a parent myself, my kids will not be able to play sports and do extracurriculars unless their grades are up. So that, that kind of hits home personally for me with that. And it's something that I've tried to instill in the kids that I've coached basketball, perform in school, because that's more important than this. School will definitely get you somewhere. Sports is never a guarantee. I don't care what sport you play and how many players are on a team. Sports is never a guarantee for you. No. So it just kind of hits home in a lot of different ways personally for me. So that's why I'm going with my second all-time favorite pick with Coach Carter.
Good choice.
All right, Theo, you are up, sir.
I was torn between 3 different movies.
Wow.
I whittled it down to 2. One was a boxing movie.
Okay.
That's probably not the boxing movie that has Adrian. Wasn't that one?
Yo, Adrian, we did
it. It was actually one that came out, I think, 3 years later after that. It was a Martin Scorsese with Robert De Niro, The Raging Bull. That was a very good, raw, authentic boxing movie. And a good story as well. But I'm going to go with the movie that I personally like. And I watched baseball when this movie came out, but I didn't see it till I think 3 years after it came out. But it got me really wanting to actually play baseball, and that's The Natural.
Oh, okay.
Robert Redford playing Roy Hobbs. It was an interesting movie. I just personally liked it. It was a character who had a dark past. that they kind of touched on, and it kind of was like showing like what his skills were before this dark past kind of happened. And then after the dark past, he kind of tries to work his way back into the spotlight or just make it to a major league team. And there's like some theatrics at the end where he hits the home run and all that stuff, and the lightning hits the ball and all that other type of stuff that goes along with it, like the feel good story. But there's like a mixture of a lot of different stuff. It kind of goes up and down in regards to it, as far as the story's concerned. And I don't know. It drew me in, and I enjoyed watching it. And that's kind of the movie that really kind of made me want to start, not just watch baseball on TV, but kind of like, let's, let me go try out for baseball, see how this goes. So that's the movie for me.
Well, let me throw this at you then, because I don't know if you know this. The Natural is based on a book. All right.
Yes. And I haven't read the book.
Do you know what happens at the end of the book?
I don't remember. No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to spoil it.
That's fine. It doesn't matter to me.
He takes the payoff.
Oh, takes the payoff.
He takes the payoff, and there's like the Shoeless Joe scene then, like at the end of it, where like some kids like doing like the "Say It Ain't So" thing with him.
JoJo.
Yeah, and the first time
that's another good movie too.
8 Men Out. Yeah, but like the first time my dad told me that, because I'd already seen the movie at least a couple of times by then, I seriously sat there and went, "What?" That's just like the worst fucking ending ever. There is absolutely no way you could have ever made that movie with that ending from the book. That's just beyond terrible. Is it over the top at the end of the movie? Hell yes. That's the whole goddamn point. The point was to give that huge moment, like, it's like, because to have like the very famous Randy Newman score playing and everything, because everybody's heard the theme to The Natural. They don't maybe know that it's from The Natural, but everybody's heard that music. So just like everybody's heard the music from Chariots of Fire. Oh, another sports movie we didn't really talk about. Yes. So it had to be over the top and everything, but you could have never done that movie with the ending from the book. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
And being a kid, the over-the-top ending type of stuff back then was like, oh, this is really awesome. So it kind of like gets you, damn, let me go play some baseball. You know what I mean? Kind of motivates you a little bit.
There's another movie I haven't ever seen. Usually if it's before my time, like before I was born, I probably haven't seen it. Or even when I was born, I probably haven't seen it anything.
That came out in 84.
Natural came out in 1984.
Yeah, I think I saw it the first time in like 86 or 87.
Okay. So that evidently just never piqued my interest at that age, because I was like 6. Yeah, I was 6. Yeah, 6 years old. So it just didn't pique my interest at that time. So, wow. All right. So that wraps up our Mount Rushmore. Just to recap, our Mount Rushmore this week, being favorite sports movies of all time, is Remember the Titans, Dodgeball, Coach Carter, and The Natural. Really good list. Very unique list. Very different list than we've done before. I might have to go back and watch one of those movies that I haven't seen, The Natural, and just get an idea of that movie. Quite a few movies I haven't seen.
The Natural is definitely worth watching.
Good. I will definitely have to go back and watch that. And some other sports movies that we mentioned that I haven't seen yet. Just for the fact that I love a good sports movie, as well as the rest of you guys I know do. So that does bring us to the end of the show, and we just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate it. We love each and every one of you that watch this show, listen to this show, wherever you're catching it. We do appreciate it. And once again, we always do this for you guys as well as kind of ourselves, because we like to make fun of each other as well as make fun of ourselves. And, we don't try to be too nasty or too inappropriate, but sometimes we get close to that edge. We ride the edge a little bit, which is okay, because like I said, we're making fun of each other and making fun of ourselves at that point in time. But do tune in next week when we talk wrestling again. I said tune.
Sounded like you said tone.
He said tune.
I sometimes say my words a little funny. But anyway, Darth Pat, you dark side bastard.
Yes. What did I do now?
Tune in next week, everybody, as we do talk about wrestling. What about wrestling? Not 100% sure. So you need to tune in to make sure you find out what it is about wrestling. But we'll be going back to it, and it'll be another good show. A lot of good, probably, stories and some ranting and raving about wrestling, things that we like and don't like. But with that, we say goodnight, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Wakanda forever.